The Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion recently made a historic move by creating new dioceses after maintaining a 13-year moratorium. Now, this decision particularly has sparked renewed interest in the church's growth, governance and mission in a rapidly changing society. So today we seek to understand the reasons behind these developments. We seek to understand its impact on the faithful and the vision it represents for the future of Anglicanism in Nigeria. A beautiful morning to you viewers, and thank you for joining us on today's morning show. I am Promise Njokwa.
People of God, we bring you greetings in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We give thanks to the Almighty God who has led the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion in her September Standing Committee for 2025, which started on the 15th to 19th of September 2025. This standing committee was hosted by Ekiti Anglican Diocese and was held at the Cathedral Church of Emmanuel at Ekiti, Ekiti State. We give glory to God that the Lord was mightily present with us and led us in all that we did, helping the church to take very important decisions that will guide the mission and ministry of the church. Part of the decisions taken by the standing committee at this meeting is that we should create 5 autonomous or full-fledged dioceses and 10 missionary dioceses. And so, having been approved by the standing committee and also taking a resolution to bring this into effect, led by God, the bishops held an Episcopal Synod to bring into effect the decisions of the Standing Committee concerning the creation of the new dioceses, following the lifting of the 13 years embargo, which was put on the creation of dioceses.
Welcome back. If you're joining us, this is still now streaming, coming to you from ACNNTV. We just watched a video where the primate pronounced the creation of some new dioceses. So let's go straight to the discussion for today, which is on the topic. Church of Nigeria creates new dioceses after 13 years moratorium. And still with us, although joining us virtually all the way from Asaba, Delta State, is the Right Reverend Kingsley Obuh. He is the Bishop of the Anglican Diocese of Asaba and the Episcopal Assistant Secretary of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion. So, my Lord, let me quickly start with this 2-in-1 question. First, why was there that 13 years moratorium on creation of new dioceses? That's the first question. And then the second, when was this moratorium lifted and why was it lifted? Okay, I think that's actually a 3-in-1 question.
All right, thank you very much. First of all, moratorium is a temporary suspension of an activity or an event. So it was placed on the creation of dioceses by the former primate of the Church of Nigeria, the immediate past primate, the Most Reverend Dr. Nicholas Dioko. And the reason the moratorium was imposed, which...
Please go ahead, my Lord.
All right. So I was saying that the moratorium was placed by the former primate, and it lasted throughout his tenure. No diocese was created for the 10-year primacy of the immediate past primate. And the reason was to halt the rapid and sometimes unstable subdivision of the Church of Nigeria.
Okay.
You know, the church had made some progress, very remarkable progress, in the multiplication of dioceses. And at that stage, the church needed to pause and assess constitutional and administrative procedures, the financial viability, and the pastoral capacity to sustain new dioceses. The pause which the moratorium created allowed the church to review how best to create new dioceses without weakening the existing structures. So it was purposeful, and the purpose was achieved. When the new primate, the Most Reverend Dr. Henry C. Ndokoba, came on board, he also saw the need to still extend the moratorium for another 3 years. But the moratorium was formally lifted at the General Synod held at Nnewi. Then after that, efforts began to, there were many places actually who have been yearning to be created as a diocese. So it was after the lifting of the moratorium that the primate now invited applications formally, and all the activities that led to what you see happen in Ekiti in this standing committee started from September 2024 with the inspection team, validation teams, and finally the standing committee at Ekiti approved the dioceses that were projected for creation. The moratorium was lifted because enough validated applications met the renewed criteria after inspection and verification. And the church established clear terms and procedures to ensure careful and phase-by-phase creation of new dioceses. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, my Lord. I'm sure my co-anchor has some questions for you. But then before she shoots, I just want to encourage viewers to please feel free to call in or send in your comments via any of our social media platforms showing on your screen. And the number to call in is actually showing on your screen. If you have questions, please send them in. If you have comments, we'll also love to hear from you. But please be respectful and polite when doing that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Promise. The bishop has rightly put things in perspective already, why it was lifted, it has been lifted, the moratorium was lifted, and the creation now. So now coming to another question, we want to know the determinant fraction, the location, while these dioceses has been created, knowing the fact that we have other regions in the country that were not, didn't get any, like the Southeast, were not created. So what is the determinant faction in all of this creation now, if you can rightfully hear me, my Lord?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Actually, selection of dioceses that were created followed a formal process. The beginning is that the local area that want to be created as a diocese submits applications to their mother diocese where they belong as at the time. Then the application is treated at the diocesan board of their mother diocese and passed at the synod of their mother diocese. When it is passed, it's now forwarded to the office of the primate. Then the primate will minute it to the teams he has set up to go and inspect the areas that want to become a diocese, to know whether they meet up with the new criteria set up by the Church of Nigeria for the creation of dioceses. So that was exactly what happened. By the time the first team finished their work, another team called validation team was also sent. I was fortunate to be part of the validation team to go and look at this area again, so that by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, a matter may be established. So following the assessment of the inspection team and the validation team, the diocese created, some were now recommended for full-fledged diocese, whilst others were recommended for missionary status. And all these are because of the criteria that the church set up. For example, some of the factors we had to consider was the proposed cathedral. Do they have a befitting cathedral? Is it furnished? Bishop's court, is it fully furnished? Proposed diocesan secretariat, is it fully furnished? Are there vehicles for the bishop or for the would-be bishop to use? Official vehicles and, of course, utility vehicles. What is the number of the clergymen in this area that want to become a diocese? What is the number of the catechists, the church teachers, the evangelists, the lay workers? In other words, what is the workforce of this area that want to become a diocese? How many archdeaconries are there? What is the number of churches in this area? What is the number of local governments? Because a diocese is not just created. The geographical size is also very important.
Okay.
Before you say this can be a diocese. All these were checked, and then, very important, the self-financing capacity of the diocese was also put into perspective. Where are the proposed boundaries of this proposed diocese? Are there potentials for expansion? And what are other justifications actually why the diocese should be created? One of the conditions is that we will no longer create diocese because one individual want to answer, I have a diocese. Or a group of people want to say, we brought down, that kind of pride. We don't want to do it anymore. The primate was very emphatic on that diocese will not be created for individuals. Diocese will not be created out of rancor. So those who are quarreling with their bishop, and instead of reconciling as Christians, they say, after all, whatever primate say we should pay, we will pay it. And then they will give us dioceses. The primate said, no way, it will not happen. So the last point was that the proposed diocese had to make deposit of 15 million naira to the Church of Nigeria account to show that they have some sign of financial stability. This money will still return to them, but returning will be phased by the primate. He will be giving it to them as they genuinely create the vision of what to do with the money. Now, responding to why there were no dioceses created, for example, in the southeast,
Sure.
there were not applications actually that came from there.
Okay.
If there were applications that came initially, maybe they didn't pass the verification stage for one reason or another. So, but this is a phased project. Other dioceses may likely come up in the future, depending on how God aids the primate. Thank you very much.
All right, my lord. Before we move to another questions, we meant to understand that some of the dioceses, like the southeast, we're talking about, didn't submit an application. Is it that they are overwhelmed already with the dioceses, or they have enough of the dioceses so they don't need any more creation of new dioceses from their own ends? Is that what is applicable here.
Okay, and then let me give a follow-up question to that. When you were talking, you talked about the teams recommended some to be full-fledged dioceses and some to be missionary dioceses. Can you please expatiate more on that? What is a full-fledged diocese and what is a missionary diocese? Thank you.
All right. Responding to the first question, you can't really say that any area is saturated with dioceses at any point in time. You can't really say so. But you see, the issue of creating a diocese, full-fledged diocese, the desire and the requisition must come from the people. If it doesn't come from them, you can't impose it on them. But the primate has the authority to create a missionary diocese anywhere in the Church of Nigeria at any time. So, as for the Southeast, you can't say saturated. I know that when the time is ripe, the area that might need diocese there, the applications will come to the primate. Then, the difference between full-fledged and missionary diocese. The full-fledged dioceses are those that have those things I mentioned in place. At least to a large extent, they have those things mentioned earlier in place. They can now be given full-fledged status. Because some dioceses will be expected to be self-supporting. They were expected to have their own diocesan structures, have cathedral, have bishop's court, have diocesan secretariat, have sustainable finances, and so on. Now, but for a missionary diocese, this will depend on the Church of Nigeria still. In fact, a period of 5 years is always created for them to be able to find their footing. And within those 5 years, the Church of Nigeria will be giving them assistance annually. And then there are some other restrictions that ought to operate in a missionary diocese, which I may not go into here, but let's just know that the missionary diocese is also exempted from financial obligations from the Church of Nigeria. They are allowed to just struggle to stand on their feet. They are not given levies, they are not given assessment, they are not given any financial burden. But a full-fledged diocese, from the very first day it begins to exist, will share in the burdens of the Church of Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay, my Lord, I just want to ask, when you were talking earlier, you talked about befitting cathedrals, befitting bishops' courts, and befitting secretariats, amongst others. So I want to ask, how are these cathedrals chosen? Is it the bishop the bishop-elect or the primate or whoever chooses the church that will be the cathedral, or is it the oldest church in that vicinity that is meant to be the cathedral? We just want to know how these cathedrals are chosen.
All right. Thank you. The choice of where becomes the cathedral is not really done by the bishop single-handedly. There are factors that determine where can be used as cathedral, but eventually it is where the people who want to become a diocese agree that should be their cathedral that becomes cathedral.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it is the oldest church.
Okay.
And that is if that church is well situated and the church has the structure that can serve the diocese as a cathedral, then it can be, if they agree. Then the primate also has to give his own mandate, accepting that place to be the cathedral. That is the last point of confirmation that the place has been chosen as cathedral for a new diocese.
Okay, my lord. I know you made mention of how the missionary dioceses will be financed for at least 5 years before they get their footings and all that. So my question is, how does the church intend to ensure that these dioceses remain financially self-sustaining in the long run, not just after the 5 years? That is for the missionary. Now, the missionary diocese, are they going to be left alone to handle whatever it is that comes their way? How are they going to keep on running of the diocese? And how does the creation of new dioceses affect the training, deployment, and welfare of clergy within the Church of Nigeria? I guess that's two-in-one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. The new diocese created, part of the job of the inspection team and the validation team was to ascertain the viability of these areas that want to become a diocese. So, in those exercises, the teams looked out for how the diocese will be sustained. If there were no potentials that they will be able to sustain themselves in the future, they will not be created. They will not be recommended for creation. So there are potentials in these places created as dioceses that, if well harnessed, over time, they will become like other full-fledged dioceses in every respect. Again, that's also the reason they make them to deposit some money with the Church of Nigeria.
Okay.
So that as they create visions of how to find their footing.
I'm sorry, my lord, I'll have to hold you up a little. We have our first caller for the day.
Okay.
Hello?
Good morning. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, good morning. My name is Mr. Ernest from Abuja.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to start by greeting the Lord. Good morning, my Lord. So, before now, we used to be seen by who becomes bishop. But it appears to turn out to be the unexpected person. But now it appears that people can now predict who becomes bishop is done long before the election is done. Now, you see that the election of bishop is now more of political than spiritual, because at some point, I just let me just ask this question, because it's turning out to be enough. So this is my question. It is more political now than spiritual, but it's turning out to be enough. Even any political because the national bishop is down to the ground.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ernest, for your question.
Okay, my lord, I don't know if you got that question. He is asking.
I didn't quite get it clearly, please.
Okay, he was asking about the procedures in electing a bishop. He is asking, is it becoming more political than spiritual? But I will let you finish up with what you're saying, then you can respond to this.
I've lost track where I stopped before now. Let me respond to him quickly.
Okay.
We can return to the other one. Now, the election of bishops follow the constitution and canons of the Church of Nigeria. Whatever you see the House of Bishops do, that is how the law guiding the church say it should be done. When you ask questions like, is it becoming more spiritual or more political, it depends on what you mean. Are you asking whether we went to, we send some people to go and pray and come and tell us that God said the Bishop of Diocese A should be Mr. B? Is that what you mean by spiritual? So the election of bishops follow the procedure. The dioceses that were full-fledged, No, the dioceses that were existing before, if we are going to elect a bishop to replace a retired bishop, the diocese will send what is called advisory to the House of Bishops, trying to let the House of Bishops know some peculiarities of their locality so that they will know the kind of person they prayerfully send to them as a bishop. But for new dioceses like these ones that were created, you don't need advice. There is no advice will be sent to the House of Bishops because the diocese has not existed yet. So that is the constitution, and that is what the House of Bishops followed to do whatever God led the House of Bishops to do, and servants of God emerged. So it is still very much spiritual. The constitution of the church, which is based on scriptures, even in Acts of the Apostles, when they were to elect the 7 deacons, they didn't say, everybody close your eyes, Holy Spirit, tell somebody, then somebody start to fall up and down and say, yes, thus says the Lord, deacon number 1 is Stephen, deacon number 2 is Nicanor, deacon number 3 is Timon. It wasn't so.
Okay.
They allowed people to nominate people.
Okay, but
they said, select 7 men from among you. They only gave them the criteria of the 7 men they should select. So when you are asking questions like, is it spiritual? It depends on what you're actually looking for.
Okay.
But it is very spiritual because the house was led by the Spirit of God.
Okay, thank you very much, my Lord. We're going to be looking at another video on the announcements of the pronouncements of the bishops elect by the primate. And when we come back, the conversation still continues. Viewers, please stay with us.
For Irele Esedo Diocese, we have elected the Venerable Samuel Olaruwaju Ogunmiliyu as the bishop-elect. For the new full-fledged diocese, we have elected for the Diocese of Ekiti South, Venerable Francis Bankole as the bishop-elect. For the Diocese of Calabari, we have elected Venerable Boma Briggs as the bishop-elect. For the Diocese of Lagos Southwest, we have elected the Venerable Dr. Adewale Ajayi as the bishop-elect. For the Diocese of Omoku, we have elected the Venerable Richard Opara as the bishop-elect. For the Diocese of Ozoro, we have elected the Venerable Dr. Benjamin Idume as the bishop-elect. And for the missionary dioceses, we have elected the following. The missionary diocese of Edonre, we have elected Venerable Bode Otenaike as the bishop-elect. For the missionary diocese of Ikom, we have elected Venerable David Maxson as the bishop-elect. For the missionary diocese of Kefi, we have elected the Venerable Dr. Paul Dajo as the bishop-elect. For the missionary diocese of Nasarawa, we have elected the Venerable Dr. Luka Alu as the bishop-elect. For the missionary diocese of Obuh, we have elected the Venerable Ifeanyi Akonna as the bishop-elect. For the missionary diocese of Oyo South, we have elected the Venerable Dr. Ebenezer Familoni as the bishop-elect. For the missionary diocese of Oyo, we have elected Venerable Solomon Adewumi as the bishop-elect. For the missionary diocese of Takum, we have elected the Reverend Canon Rita Ibrahim as the bishop-elect. And for the missionary diocese of Zuru, we have elected the Venerable Dr. Ayuba Kanta as the bishop-elect.
Is on the announcement of the bishops elect by the Primate Church of Nigeria, and we are still with the Right Reverend Kingsley Obuh. He's been doing justice to all our questions. So viewers, I want to encourage you to please feel free to call in. The number to call in is showing on your screen, and if you can't call in, please send us your comments and we'll take it up from there. Okay, so my lord, before we watched this video, I remember my co-anchor asked you a question. You were unable to finish answering it before our caller came in, and you quickly responded to him. So I'll allow her ask that question again, so that you can.
Okay, I think he has answered that of how the dioceses can financially sustain themselves after now. And the other question that follows is, how does the creation of the new dioceses affect the training, deployment and welfare of clergy within the Church of Nigeria? If you can hear me, my lord.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you clearly. The creation of these new dioceses, one thing it does is that it brings the Church of Nigeria close to the people. Because a diocese is like a government. In the politics of the nation, sometimes you will hear some ethnic groups clamoring for the creation of a new state. Why? They want the government of the nation closer to them. In those days, we used to have dioceses that were so large that sometimes the bishop will not be able to go around his diocese in 3 years. So when dioceses are created, reduced to some manageable geographical sizes, it makes pastoring effective. In fact, the bishop will be able to know every station before he posts anybody there. But when it is very large, it's impossible to do. Very impossible. So, and again, bringing Anglican presence to grassroots gives them opportunity of becoming Christians. The church gets closer. And when the number of clergy a bishop is managing is brought to a sizable number, it is easier to attend to them, even on an individual basis. So it has so many advantages.
Okay.
Especially where it is created on a very firm footing. Thank you.
Okay, my lord. How then is the clergy splitted between these dioceses, the mother diocese and the newly created diocese? How do we split the clergy?
Yeah, there is no hard and fast rule on how the clergy are divided when a diocese is created out of an older diocese.
Okay.
Sometimes it depends on the bishop of the mother diocese. Sometimes when it's created, wherever you are working, as at the time of the creation of the new diocese, that becomes your diocese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then for some, they will make it open. Those who by origin are from the area created new, they will ask them, if you want to return to your new home diocese, indicate. And when they indicate, they will release them.
Okay. My Lord, I have some questions coming in now from our viewers. The first question is, the Bishop of Makurdi Diocese has... Okay, before I ask that question, I've just been told we have another caller. Please, let's take him first.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, my Lord Bishop.
Good morning.
I am very happy you have been speaking to our knowledge why the creation of this new diocese. However, my question is, I'm very happy you mentioned that the creation of this new diocese is not like the government, where the diocese will be very closer to these people. I want to ask my question, is 50 million naira not too much for the ticket? Number one. Number two, I want to direct my question to that of the Southeast, because I want to believe that Southeast must have brought their own up to the table. If they did not, I want to say that the politics in creation of the new diocese in the Southeast, especially in a particular location where I know it is more political than that of the spirit, as one the first caller stated. And I think that is the reason why they fought to the extent that the paper did not arrive to the office of the private on time. And I would want to say that the Southeast did not get it well at this moment. If it is to be looked upon, I know that before any that is created again, it will be a decade or even more than. But then I would say that this is somehow that even one doubt is not created.
Okay. I'm sure the Bishop got your question. Thank you. So let me let you respond to that before I read out these ones.
All right. He asked two questions. One is whether local places, if I get him clearly, will be able to pay 50 million. Now, the primate has his own discretion. I said earlier that the primate has a right to create missionary diocese anytime, any day. So he can as well soft pedal on that for an area he knows will not be able to raise that kind of money. The reason of raising that money is not to punish anybody. It's just to know whether they have financial base. The money is still reserved for them and will be given back to them when they begin to operate as a diocese. So know that it's not an area that is missionary and people there are poor, they cannot raise it. It's not a problem at all. As long as it's the will of God they be created as a missionary diocese, the primate will know what to do. So don't take money is a hindrance. Then, as for the Southeast you mentioned, we will not bring the issue of any diocese to this platform. We will not. So whatever you know about any diocese that you feel is the reason they didn't submit the application, or the application didn't get through to the teams that worked on the new dioceses, those are personal. And I want to advise you be reserved, because the issue of case of dioceses is diocesan matter. It comes from them. If it doesn't come, we have nothing to discuss about.
Okay.
And you're talking about maybe until the next decade before creation of another diocese. You never can say. It may not be. That is primate's own prerogative.
Okay, thank you, my Lord. I have about 4 questions here for you. First, the first question, okay, in line with what you just said, but let me just read it out in case you want to still explain more on that. Okay, Uche said, I am sure that Niger Delta East Diocese submitted application. The inspection/validation team didn't show up. Why? That's the first question. Then the second question from Vetshen Jim said, the Bishop of Makurdi Diocese has retired for close to a year now and no new bishop was elected. Why so? Let me take these 2 questions first. When you're done with that, I'll ask the remaining 2.
All right. This issue of whether any region submitted application or not, the fact is that the application, if they submitted, it didn't get to the validation team.
Okay.
I was part of the validation team, and the reports forwarded to us by the inspection team, the first team that saw these areas. We just continue from where they stopped. So before you say or you argue why an area didn't create a new diocese, try to find out about facts, because any area that submitted application, the application came up, nobody stopped it anywhere. If they were stopped, they must have been told why they were stopped, and possibly told what to go and do. Remember, I said earlier that the primate again and again said that he will not create a diocese for an individual or for a group of people, and he will not create a diocese out of rancor and quarreling. So there may be factors that stop some applications which didn't come to validation team.
Okay.
Try to find your facts, but nobody was stopped. As for Bishop of Makurdi, it's a matter being handled administratively by the primate. So
Okay.
it's not something to be discussed on this platform. Thank you.
Okay, so the third question, my lord, he said, for the newly created dioceses, who determines the dean or provost of the cathedral? That's the third question. And then the last question I have here, I said, before now, we used to be thrilled by who becomes bishop because it turns out to be the unexpected candidate. But now it appears that people cannot predict who becomes bishop long before the election of bishop, even down to the diocese. Is it becoming more political than spiritual? I think that's in line with the question our first caller, asked. So these two questions, and then I have some more questions coming in, but then let's take these two questions first, my lord.
This issue of whether you will repeat the first one after this. This issue of whether the election is becoming political or what I said earlier, I believe the person asking the question heard it clearly. I believe so. You see, if you suspect that somebody might be a bishop, and later he became a bishop, it is not because the process is becoming more political. It's because church members are becoming more aware of what is happening in the church. You are becoming more aware. You are becoming more conscious. There were those days where when bishops hold meeting, nobody knows. They can do election, and for 1 week, nobody will know they did the election. You see? So, but the days are changing. Information is spreading very fast. Otherwise, before, when they write a letter inviting a bishop to standing committee, you don't know. You don't see it. But today, you see jingles on social media telling you there will be synod and things like that. You must understand the changes in the times.
Okay.
It's not about becoming political or anything. It's just that the days have changed. It reminds me of the first question you asked.
Okay, the other one asked who elects the provost, the dean of
who determines
yes.
Now it is the bishop that determines where any clergyman will serve part-time in his diocese.
Okay.
So it is bishop that determines all those ones as well.
Okay, thank you very much, my lord. Viewers, I'm sure you're getting really enlightened with all the knowledge being dished out by the Lord Bishop of Diocese of Asaba. So I'm having a whole lot of comments here, and I'm going to read them out. Please keep the comments coming for as long as we have time. We're still within time of this program because we're on the scheduled time. I'm sure you have some questions, but let me read these comments first. Okay, so Sunday Chinedum said a particular bishop moved all the bigger priests to his own diocese and allowed the incoming bishop to suffer with the remaining ones in newly created diocese. Politics in the church. Another one, Olamideji Emilo Jones said, my lord, I am very happy when you say before a bishop can make a transfer, he should know the parish very well. for an ordained coming from seminary and be placed in a diocese that is just striving. My Lord, please, that should be looked into. God bless your episcopacy, my Lord. He's making an appeal, my Lord. Please look into it. Say they are suffering. And then from Ola Truth Sayer, what we need now is to merge the poor dioceses with the viable ones and make the bishops of those poor dioceses area bishops. Priests are suffering due to all these inviable dioceses. Okay, so I don't know if you want to react to this, because this particular one about merging these dioceses was actually one of the questions I wanted to ask. So I think, my Lord, you should please react to it. Lastly, let me read this from Lesson Bestman, Ecclesia. He said, it's even better for the others will get rapid promotion and receive more platforms to visibility. Okay, so my Lord, your reaction to some of these comments, please.
Yes, I will just react to the one on suggestion of merging dioceses. Mm-hmm. I remember when I worked under the former primate, most of Nicholas D. Oko, as his personal assistant. One day, a team came from a diocese and they came to the primate's office and they were putting pressure that he should do something, should command their mother diocese to do this. I can't remember all they were asking for, but I remember one of the responses the primate then gave them. He said, when you were asking for diocese, you know the area you want to become diocese. You know that land does not expand. And you went all the way, pressured everybody available so that they give you a diocese. Now they give you diocese. You say, I should go and begin to trouble your mother diocese to release more churches to you. It's not done. It was not in the relinquishment you signed. You signed a relinquishment which delineated your area very specifically. And he made a comment. He said, well, if there is no road where you are going, then return to where you're coming from. And that was the end of the meeting. They didn't like that comment. And that's what somebody is saying here. You see, ask a diocese to go and merge with another diocese. Nobody can legislate that. But I don't know, I've not seen it before. Maybe our older fathers in the House of Bishops may have some experience. But if a diocese wakes up one day and say we are not able to stand again, take us back to where we are coming from, then the bishop of that diocese must be ready to become a suffragan bishop and other things that may follow. I don't know. Maybe until that kind of request comes to the primate, we'll now see how it will be handled. But it's something that may not likely happen. And for dioceses today that are struggling, you see, that for a diocese to be viable, it's not just about geographical size. If God helps that diocese and the government begin to develop the area occupied by that diocese, the fortunes of that diocese can change. So all these things are for a while. Time will come when they become stories of the past.
Well, thank you, my Lord, even though that is a very big if in your statement. Well, I'll allow, our time is fast spent, so I'll allow Rachel ask.
Thank you, my Lord, as we wind down. Put this question before you, comparing the membership strength of the Anglican Communion with that of the Roman Catholic Church and the number of the dioceses they have at hand as of present. Now, how does the creation of new dioceses align with the Church Commission of Evangelism and Expansion in Nigeria with that of the Anglican Communion and the Roman Catholic?
Yes, the structure of the two churches are not exactly the same. The Roman Catholic, as of today, have about 59 or 60 dioceses in Nigeria. and their provinces are around 9 or so. But the Anglican Communion, yes, we have about 176 dioceses as at today. So the creation of these local diocesan units, they are designed to advance evangelism by bringing episcopal oversight and the resources closer grassroots. It creates room for more frequent pastoral care, contextual mission. You know, churches may not have the same impact in the same area. That's why you go to some countries, there are kind of churches that thrive there. You bring another kind of church, they'll be looking at it even for a decade. So our own practice, we have discovered that the bringing of the Anglican Church to grassroots have positive impacts. You know, Church of Nigeria is ruled by Church of Nigeria. But the Roman Catholic Church in Nigeria is ruled from Rome. So that we have more dioceses. You never can tell whether is their desire as well, just that they are not allowed to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, my Lord. I'm sorry I have to cut you off here because our time is fast spent. We truly appreciate your wealth of knowledge that you have just dished out for free. We are so grateful. Thank you very much, my Lord.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. And then to our viewers out there, thank you so much for staying with us. You really made this conversation worthwhile. You made it more interesting with your calls and your comments. Thank you. And to my co-anchor, Rachel, do you have anything to say to our viewers before we call it a day?
Okay, the bishop has rightly said, I think, answered most of their questions. If he hasn't done justice to that, I guess they can meet their various bishops and of their various dioceses. You need questions, you need clarification, go get that from your bishop. And it's nice doing this with you.
Yeah, it's nice. And actually, they can even drop some of those questions on our platforms. On our platforms, please. Our platforms are showing on your screen. You can drop these questions there, and I'm sure you have responses to that. So, the lifting of the moratorium and creation of new dioceses marks a new chapter in the life of the Church of Nigeria. Now, while it brings opportunities for growth and evangelism, it also raises important questions about sustainability, about unity and mission. What remains clear is that this step will significantly shape the Church's journey in the years to come. Once again, congratulations to all the newly elected bishops. Yes, from ACNN, we congratulate you, and we sincerely pray that God give you all the wisdom to pilot the affairs of your new dioceses. So, until we come your way again tomorrow, same time, same station, please remain glued to ACNN TV. We have all programs for you, your loved ones, even your children. So, stay with us, and bye-bye for now.